Hi everyone! In today's tutorial we are going to make step by step Ichigo's mask from the anime Bleach. It is simple and we only need EVA Foam, so I hope you like it. Although you can find the patterns in the description box, I wanted to show you the creation process because the technique I use is always the same and maybe you can get an idea for your own projects. To scale the mask properly, I use a plaster mold of my face, and since I don't want to get it dirty, my first step is to cover the area using cling film. Okay, next, I need to start creating the volumes on the mask, and for that I will use foil. I'm going to add volume especially in the area of the forehead, cheeks and chin, using small pieces that I'm going to tape down. Ichigo's mask has kind of a big forehead, the cheeks are level to the bridge of the nose, and a pointy chin. Maybe you won't see too much because of the lights, but mine is ready. Now, with a marker, I trace the main lines to see if I like the size and shape, more or less, and once I'm happy with it, I just have to draw the final pattern. For this, I will cover the entire surface of the mask using tiny bits of duct tape. But to prevent the tape from sticking to the foil, I cover everything once again using cling film. Now, with the mask looking straight at us, it's time to draw all the details and shapes precisely, and have in mind how many parts you want it to divide the mask into, and as we want it to be symmetrical, we just need one side. Here I have everything traced down, and I'm just going to draw some guidelines that we will use later for the building process. At this point, I was able to remove the duct tape, just trim the edges and separate the parts, and this will become our mask. The final step to finish with the pattern is to transfer what we have to a piece of paper, remembering to make this piece symmetrical. And done! And as you know, you have a link in the description box to my Ko-fi page in case you want to get them. If you decide to get them, just know that I use Adobe Acrobat to print it to scale. The only thing I have to do in the printing tab is to mark the poster option so that it gets printed on separate A4 pages that we can put together using some tape. As always, the entire mask will be made using only EVA foam. In my case, I had some old 5mm foam scraps, and that would be perfect. While I transfer the pieces with a pen, and do not forget all the guidelines as well, just let me tell you that I prefer white or black EVA foam, but I just don't like wasting what I already bought, so green it is. Just trace the silhouettes of the forehead piece for both left and right, and we have it ready. Now we can cut the pieces using a cutter. Before we can glue them together, we are going to shape them, and to do so we need to apply heat as the EVA foam is a thermoflexible material. Ideally, I would use a heat gun, but since I don't have one, I'm going to use an old hairdryer just at full power. After heating it up, we can bend the chin piece slightly inwards, and when this piece cools down, it will retain the shape. We will repeat this process on the forehead pieces, folding them inwards as well, and finally, we will do the same with the nose and cheeks, so that everything fits perfectly. If you have it, it means that it's gluing time, and the only option that I'm going to recommend is using contact glue. For this kind of props, I do not recommend, and I'm sorry, the hot silicone ones. I am going to apply a thin layer of glue on both surfaces, I'm going to wait until it's no longer sticky or wet to the touch, and then I'm just going to glue them together following the guides so that everything is exactly what it should. Let's do everything patiently, the forehead, and then attach the chin to the nose. Now it's taking shape. I would love to continue, but the bond needs to settle down, so I will wait about 12 hours for it to dry completely before moving to the next step. Now, as I always tell you, this step is optional. I just do it because I love details, but you could go to the next step without any problem. I am going to take my rotatory tool or Dremel with a sanding head, and I am going to be gently running it over the joints to make them completely smooth if any of them look like kinda wonky. And you could try using sandpaper, but I'm not completely sure if it works. Well, you know what? Although I'm done, I'm still not happy, as I want to hide these lines completely. The way to do it, obviously, it's with more EVA foam, but now the really thin one, about 1 or 2 millimeters thick. I'm going to apply heat to the sheet with the blow dryer again, and I'm going to wrap it against the forehead piece. Once shaped down, I will start gluing, but at first just a tiny circle. The process seems complicated, but it's quite easy. We are going to glue little by little small sections on the mask. And we are going to make sure before doing so that they are shaped too. Once done, just trim the edges using a cutter or tiny scissors. And that's it. I think it makes a big difference and that these tiny details change everything. Our final step to finish with the building process is to glue what's left with even more contact glue. And now we have it. Finally, we can start detailing, and I'll leave this to you. Find good reference photos, and with a pencil, sketch out some lines to know where we should place the teeth. I first draw everything in pencil, and when I'm more or less happy with it, I use a pen. I ended up with something like this. For the teeth, we are going to use air drying dough. You must already know that in my last tutorials it seems that I'm quite obsessed with this material, but it works for everything. For those of you who are new to this video, it is a dough that you can buy pretty much everywhere for less than $1. It's light, non-toxic, it does not stain, and it's basically just a toy from the child section. It dries hard and light, and we can literally do whatever we want with it. For example, as you can see, the teeth. I'm starting with the lower teeth, and simply with my hands I'm shaping them one by one, giving them slightly like a pointed finish towards the outside. They shouldn't be exactly the same or the same size, so don't worry about that. Now we can use the exact same process for the ones on top, having in mind that the bottom ones should overlap a little. What do you think? I think it looks great. And that this is really an ideal material for this prop, so we are going to let it dry, and I at least gave them about 24 hours. Let's continue. This one is another optional step. You could just paint the mask, but I told you I'm a little bit crazy about the details, so I wanted to give a little bit more texture with a pyrograph, and I'm glad I did. I went over with the tip of my pyrographer? what would be the part that we should paint in red, so just to give it a little bit of something. But you can see on many reference photos that this is just because I felt like it and not really because you need it, so it's optional. Done! I don't know if you can hear that it's raining outside, but I hope it doesn't bother you too much. But let's continue with the painting process. But before that, we have to prime. You know, to cover the pores so the paint looks better, lasts longer, etc. And yes, the usual options. About 3 coats of white glue or about 4 coats of vinyl latex, which will be my option. We are going to apply the liquid with a brush all over the mask. A thin layer is more than enough, and we are going to let it dry. Another layer, let it dry, and like this about 4 times. Once finished, it should be hard and shiny, or matte if you use glue, and it is finally ready to paint. And to make it easy and to make it look better, I will be using spray paint in white and with a glossy effect. Voila! Inside and outside. The only thing we have left is to add the red acrylic paint to the texture details, and well, my red is so bad that I'm going to have to do more than 1 layer. But that's all. I hope you like this tutorial, that you can put it into practice, and see you on the next video. Ciao!